another video. Look at me, I am on a roll. But today, it's gonna be a little different. It's not quite a vlog, but I want to kind of talk about the books that I've been reading. So I've read 7 books so far this year, and it's March, and so I'm really reading this year. It started like late last year. I was getting really into reading, and then this year I kind of just took off. There's a few in here, I'll talk about it, but I think I've been doing really well. Like, I've been really enjoying reading lately. I wouldn't call myself a reader in any shape, way, or form, but I wanted to kind of talk about the books that I've read this year, the books I'm currently reading, because I'm reading one and then I was listening to one, but I just finished it, and so I'm going to probably listen to another one, and I'll get into that. But I also want to talk about the books that I want to read. And if you have any books that you think that I might enjoy or that you really, really liked, I'm more than happy to listen to it. I've got a matcha here, got my Kindle that I got for Christmas, thanks Dad. And I've got a list. I have all the books rated too. There's only one of these books that's like low rated, because I always feel bad about rating books low. I will never think that there's any like truly bad books, because books are meant for everybody, truly. And if it's published, that means it was good to somebody. And so it might just not be my cup of tea. So they're rated a little low, but like obviously I give it some credit. Moving on. I'll start with the books that I have read, starting with the first book I finished in January, which was Atomic Habits by A.J. Colucci? I don't know. This one's always been recommended in like the self-care, like the girlies, you know what I mean? Everybody's read this book. It's a very self-help book. I tried. I'm not a huge self-help book person. I've tried a few. My dad's really into them, and a lot of people I know are really into them. I just personally couldn't. I was very bored. I think I more read books as entertainment wise, and so when I didn't even read it, I listened to it, which is a whole other thing. But I did finish it, and it was good, but it was already, I felt personally, it was ideas that I already knew and like I already had. So it was kind of weird in that sense of like, I already learned it, so I felt like it was kind of almost common sense because I learned it so long ago when I was like in middle school, high school. But maybe not everybody did, and that's kind of where I was like, eh. I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it is still really good, like, ideas. It's a very good, like, the Atomic Habits idea, I think, is very beneficial for a lot of people, for everybody. It can be. So I gave it a 6 out of 10. I did finish it, but I just don't think self-help books are for me. If there's any you recommend, please let me know. Like, I'm always open. My to be read is not very big. Like, we'll get to it, you'll see. And most of my recommendations usually come from my brother and my dad, but Shelby, recommend books to me. Anyways, moving on. I read Intercepts by T.J. Payne. This was so good. Actually, the whole book was just a wild idea to me, but it was so heartbreaking at the same time. It was more of like a psychological thriller in a way, but it was just, my heart ached for the main character through the whole thing, and he was kind of an asshole. Like, I wouldn't, after, like, at the beginning of the first chapter, I would have hated this man, but by the end, I felt so bad for that first impression of him. And then throughout the rest of the book, oh, it was just so amazing. It was so good. It was a 10 out of 10. I love those kind of books where you start, like, you never know what's going to happen. Because I think I'm pretty good at, like, predicting a lot of things in books, and, like, specifically, like, in horror, which is a lot of what I read. But it was so good. Anyways, a side note also, I don't feel good. So if you hear me just, it's because I'm still kind of sick. But I hope it doesn't annoy everybody too much. But I am ranting at this point. Anyways, moving on. That one was a 10 out of 10. Intercepts by TJ Payne. Highly recommended. It was so good. The next I read, The Horror by, oh, this one's gonna kill me. Is it David Saringer? I have no idea. I think he's Scottish. So I will put his name up. I'm gonna put everything up, but I will specifically put his name up, like right here, so you can see how it's spelled. Anyways, The Horror. Oh, it was so good. It was a very romantic horror in a way. It was so interesting. And the vibes were just immaculate. Like, the feeling this book gave you about this time period was so good. It was very, because it's based in Scotland, and so it gave you that very, like, rainy, moody, oh, it was so fun. I loved it. I highly, highly recommended that one. It was still a 9 out of 10. Just because, like, I felt like the end was a little weird. But I still, oh, it was so good. But I still give it a 9 out of 10 because the end just, like, I felt like I wasn't prepared for it in a way. I don't know. Anyways, 9 out of 10. I'm going to put his name up. I did read another book by him, so bear with me when I get to that one. The next book I read was The Witch by Fred Anderson. This was wild. This whole book was a wild ride from start to finish. I had no idea what was happening until, like obviously I knew what was happening. It wasn't as confusing as that, but I didn't know whose side I believed. It was kind of one of those things. Very interesting. The witchcraft in it was really cool. Very, like, demon-y, I guess. I don't know how to put it because it's a horror book. And it was a very, like, witches, like, when you think of, like, warty witches with a big nose, big feet kind of thing. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Anyways, it was really good. It was a wild ride. It ended up being so sad. It broke my heart at the end. I didn't even know who to feel sad for. I was just sad for everybody. Like, that's where I was by the end of it. It broke my heart entirely. I still give it an 8 out of 10. There were a couple parts that made me a little uncomfy. I felt like they were a little unnecessary, but it was still really, really, really good. So I still give it an 8 out of 10. The next one, I started reading Lord of the Rings. I started with The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. If you don't know, if you don't, I don't know who you are. It's so good. It took me forever to get through because it's just so long in a way. And, like, I think it was hard for me because, like, I've started this, like, slight obsession with Lord of the Rings recently. I think I talked about it a little bit in the video I uploaded recently. I love Lord of the Rings. And so when I was reading The Fellowship of the Ring, parts of it were, like, obviously from the movie and parts of it weren't. And the parts that weren't, I feel like should have been in the movie. If you've read them, I think you understand what I mean, but it was so good. I love Lord of the Rings. Obviously a 10 out of 10. Obviously a 10 out of 10. The next one, I listened to it. My brother recommended it to me. It's called Sphere by Michael, is it Crichton? He's the same author that wrote Jurassic Park. And that's my brother's, like, all-time favorite everything is Jurassic Park. This was so confusing. The whole book was confusing, but it was also captivating at the same time. From start to finish, I had no idea what was going on. Like, I totally felt like I was just, like, watching this as I was listening to it, because I didn't read it, I listened. And it was beautifully written to keep you confused, because I think that's, like, the whole point of it. By the end, I wasn't prepared for it to be over. I wanted more of it, but I was still also very confused. I texted my brother, like, right when I finished it, and I was like, I have no idea what just happened. And we talked about it for a little bit. I give it an 8 out of 10, because there's still parts where I'm like, what in the hell did that mean? But an 8 out of 10, it was really good. I do recommend it. I don't know if I would have been able to read it, if I'm being honest. I think that one, I had to listen to it or I was not going to get through it. Anyways, get a little drink. And then the last one that I've read so far has been Night Shoot by David. Is it Sod-er Journ? I don't know. I might later. Maybe when I'm editing this, I'll figure it out. I don't know. It was good. I thought it was a little boring. Like it had the idea of keeping you on your toes. I just felt like it was predictable. And I had a really hard time getting through it. It was fine. It wasn't my favorite book that I've read this year, which was kind of disappointing because I loved The Haar. I hope I'm saying that right. It's Haar. I loved that book. It was so good. I'm gonna probably read more of his books. I have the Kindle Unlimited, and a lot of his books keep coming up on Kindle Unlimited for me because I read them and rated them, you know? But Night Shoot, I just didn't like it. I couldn't get into it. I gave it a 4 out of 10 because, like I said, I think all books are good books to somebody. It just wasn't to me. So I'll move on to, I'm currently reading The Hobbit. I love it. It's so good. I think I like The Hobbit more than I like Lord of the Rings. Me and my boyfriend were talking about it because I have been making everybody in my house rewatch The Hobbit. The cartoon version and the live action version from like 2012. I love The Hobbit so much. And so I'm currently reading it, and it's such a smooth read, and that's the best way I can put it. I have been obsessed with it. I love it so much. I highly, 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 highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't read it. This is my first time reading them, because before I never even really cared about Lord of the Rings. I've always been a Star Wars fan. So this has been a very big adventure to, like, right off the deep end for me, and I'm just obsessed. So I'm on, I think, chapter 3. I started it yesterday, and I think I'm on chapter 3. I love it. It's so good. That's what Bilbo Baggins are. My to be read. For starters, I want to read The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. If you've read Lord of the Rings, or even if you're into like Magic the Gathering, because they had a Lord of the Rings, what is it called? Secret Lair, I think. I love him so much. In the book, he was so funny, and he was just such a character that I wanted to know more about. And so when I saw that there was a book about him, obviously I downloaded it, and so I have it ready to read. I'm so excited for it. I want to finish The Hobbit before I bounce back into that, and I might even just finish, because the other 2 books that aren't here are obviously the rest of the Lord of the Rings. I have Two Towers and The Return of the King. I'm like not breathing. Can you tell? I'm just like, anyways, I'll try to slow down. But I want to read Two Towers and The Return of the King, but I might end up just reading The Adventures of Tom Bombadil because I already have it, and I have to buy the other 2, and I'm putting it off because I pay for Unlimited. I don't feel like I want to pay for other books. But those are 3 that are on here. It obviously is Lord of the Rings. And then I also want to read The Silmarillion. I might end up listening to it. My boyfriend's tried, and he said it's so hard to get through. He really likes Lord of the Rings, obviously. And so he was having a really hard time with it. I might try to, just because, like, I think it's good to I'd be listening to music throughout the day. And I also, when I'm listening to a book, I'll listen to a book with my son. So it might be worth it. But the Silmarillion, I'm just curious. I want to read. Sooner or later, I'd like to read, and I'd like to own all of the Lord of the Rings, like all of the spin-offs, all of it. I'm so obsessed with it. But to switch things up, though, I do want to read Jurassic Park. I mentioned earlier that my brother loves Jurassic Park, and I really liked the movies. I like dinosaurs. My son also really likes dinosaurs. And so I just think it would be an interesting read, because I know that the book is better. I have been told multiple times that the book is better. And so that's another one. But that's kind of all I have right now. A lot of the books that were on my to be read were self-help books, and I'm not in that phase of my life right now. I want to be entertained. I don't want to be educated. Does that make sense? I just don't care. And I can't stay, like, my attention isn't there. I start to zone it out because I'm not there right now. And so a lot of my to be read has been just like pushed to the side because it was a lot of self-help books. And so now I'm into like that fantasy adventure area. But Lord of the Rings, I'm in that Lord of the Rings area. But if you have any books that you think I would enjoy, or just any books that you really, really, really enjoyed, please tell me. I'm really open to anything. Like I've said, even just in my books that I've read this year, I read a lot of horror, I read a lot of fantasy. I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone. I think I read a romance book last year. So I'm open to try just about anything. So if there's something that you really liked, that's one of your like top books, let me know in the comments down below. I'm pretty sure only my friends and family watch these. So if you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to text me. I'm really trying to read like 50 books this year, I think. I think that's going to be my goal. I'm already at 7, and I think that's what, 3.5 a month? That's pretty good. So we'll see. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But thank you for watching, listening to me ramble. I feel like I went through this so fast, but thank you for watching. I'm having a good time. I'm hoping and praying that I'll do better at recording and uploading, because I think my last videos were like 3 months apart, because it was a whole thing. If you saw my video, you know. Is a whole thing. But like I said, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I think that's it. It just helps me. This is just a hobby, but it helps me know that other people are enjoying it. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time, because there will be a next time.